In today's video tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate a sweet cake design which will feature a girl on a sweet. Okay, so for this cake, we are creating a double barrel cake. It's a 6-inch cake, 4 layers, and as you can see, I have my 2 tiers here. I've settled them both overnight. They've been crumb coated, and now I am about to stack one tier on top of the other. I have cut 4 bubble tea straws and placed them in the bottom tier. And this is just what a bubble tea straw looks like if you're not familiar with it. And you just want to cut all of your supports to the height of the bottom tier. And my frosting has crusted on top. So this is an optional step, but if you want to help prevent your frosting from peeling up later when you start to serve from your cake, you can just place a little piece of parchment down, and that will help with that. Okay, so I'm just still going to apply just a little bit of frosting to the center so that it will help to keep the top tier in place. Okay, so our top tier is chilled, so I can easily pick it up. It's on its own cardboard cake circle, cut down to size, and I'm just going to place it on top. And now we are going to frost the entire cake as one. Okay, so after applying a second coat of frosting to my cake, I chilled it in the freezer for about 15 or 20 minutes until it had firmed up. And now I'm just going back over just lightly here and there, adding some fresh buttercream. And I'm getting ready to use a very hot bench scraper. This has been in a pot of hot water. And I'm just gonna smooth everything out with the bench scraper. So the reason why I add a little bit of fresh buttercream to our chilled tier is so that it will have something that can easily be melted on contact, and it just kind of glides over our other frosting. Because our tier is so tall, I'm gonna have to do this in 2 different steps, but you might have a bench scraper that is super tall. That would work well for this, just doing it all at once. Okay, so because we're doing the hot knife method, sometimes it might take a trip or 2 back and forth to the freezer until you're completely happy with the look. But I think this is smoothing out really nicely. Okay, so I like to let the buttercream build up beyond the top edge of the cake so we can go in and more easily get a clean look. If your buttercream is really firm, you can actually go in with a knife and slice it away, but I can see a lot of our frosting is soft. So in that case, you just go in with your spatula and smooth it inward, up, and off the cake. So that gets rid of a lot of excess frosting. I'll do it this way so that you can see. And you see you get a cleaner edge and not a lot of buildup. So I'm gonna just clean things up. Probably chill it just one more time so I can smooth out any remaining little imperfections, and we'll meet right back. Okay, so now we are going to pipe a tree, and I'm using a medium size, or actually a small-ish round tip. It's a tip 6, but you could use any round tip you'd like, or you could even use a small star tip if you like the look of ridges. And we're just gonna do a quick and easy tree. So I'm starting with the trunk, and I'm just slightly hovering my piping tip above the surface. By the way, you can see, you might be able to tell. Let me do this real quick. Okay. A lot of this branch will be hidden by leaves, but I'm just giving my tree trunk a textured look, which is why I chose kind of a small round tip, because I'm just gonna pipe my buttercream kind of side by side to give it a little bit more texture. And you can build it up if you'd like to. And we could even make it, you won't really be able to see this part from the front, but I'll go ahead and continue the branches out to the other side also. Okay. So the next step in this to make it look like a tree is to add our leaves. Okay, so now we are going to fill in our tree with leaves. And so I have my buttercream, and this is tinted with Wilton leaf green. I'm using my favorite piping tip for leaves, which is the Wilton 352. It has that little notch out of the center, and you just want to turn it this way when you're piping. And that way you'll get a nice point every time to your leaves. So we'll just start kind of at the end of all of our branches. And depending on the direction that you pull your piping, you can have your leaves pointing in all different directions. So I like the dimension that this will give us. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to fill in our leaves. You can make the tree as full as you'd like to, and you could even bring, I'm not sure if we're going to do it yet, but you could bring more leaves across the top of the cake, and it would just look like the top view of our tree. So I think that would work well also. Okay, so I'm going to continue filling in, and we might stop pretty soon, but we can always go back and add more leaves for more fullness. But I really love the look and the texture that these leaves add to the cake. Okay, so you can see I've filled in a lot of our leaves. I still might extend the leaves even more to cover the top of the cake. I'm undecided right now what I want to do. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you can make tiny leaves with this piping tip, and you can make large leaves. It's all based on how much pressure you're applying and how far you pull out the leaves. But anyway, I'm happy with how this looks so far. Wanted to also mention for the trunk and for the branches, there's already a lot of texture just from the piping tip that we used. But if you want to go in with a toothpick and add even more, you can do that here and there just to make it a little bit more textured and a little more intricate. If you like that look, it just gives it more of the look of bark. Okay, but I don't think I'm going to do too much texturing. I already like the way it looks. So anyway, I am happy with our tree, and I think now we are going to move on to the swing. Okay, so now I am working on the face for our girl, and so I have just a little bit of fondant with some tie lace kneaded into it, and it has been tinted with Americolor Copper, but just a very small amount. And so now I'm just gonna shape it into sort of an oval shape. A lot of times I'll do just a round flat circle for a face, but today I'm gonna make it slightly wider just for a different look. But you can do whatever you'd like to for this. And just keep in mind the height of your cake when you're figuring out how large to make the little girl, because we don't want it to look like the girl is as big as the tree. Okay, so I think that's a good size. And now I'm just going to take a food coloring pen and make 2 dots for the eyes. My hand might be hiding your view for a second. I'm just trying to keep it vertical so the dots will stay nice and round. And then for the mouth, you could either make an impression with a toothpick or a gum paste tool, or you can just draw it on, or you could paint it on if you don't have a food coloring pen. So I'm just gonna do a really small mouth. Okay, so now I'm just gonna brush on some rosy cheeks, and I'm doing this with our pink Petal Dust. If it comes on too dark, you can just brush over that spot with powdered sugar just to lighten it. I might lighten mine just a little bit. But I always like rosy cheeks, and so I think that will be really cute. Okay, so now you can see I'm working on a little fondant shirt. If you'd rather do this in buttercream, that works too. I just kind of shaped a oval and cut it in half. And we're gonna piece this right onto the cake as we go. And for the swing, I have some, let me scoot this over. This is just some of our fondant tinted AmeriColor chocolate brown. I didn't need the color in all the way, so it still has some swirls in it. And I'm just cutting along fairly thin rectangle. I want to make sure I have room for her little body to fit, and we're going to have the ropes for the swing on either side. Okay, and then if you want to do a little bit of wood grain, you can. I don't think that it will be that noticeable because her legs will be covering a lot of this. And her skirt is going to be in buttercream. It's just going to be a buttercream ruffle. Okay, so really quickly, I'm going to do some very simple legs. And so I've just made a small little snake of fondant. And for the shoe, I have my same shade of pink that I use for her shirt, and we'll just wrap it around the bottom, almost like a little Mary Jane type shoe is what I'm going for. Okay, so here's a little strap that you can just lay across, and that's just a super simple shoe. And we're just gonna do the same thing for her other leg. Not sure if we need to bend it. We can just bend it slightly. And by the way, her arms are gonna be the same as the legs. Let's see. We'll just do a little snake. And her arms are going to be holding onto the swing. So just kind of try to imagine about where the rope would go. And it's flat enough that I think you might not need to do this step, but I'm just going to make a small little impression just in case. And that's where the swing rope will go. Okay, so you can see I cut my swing just slightly thinner since it is the side view that we're looking at of the swing. And then on the cake, I'm going to piece everything together like this. And then, of course, we'll give her a little skirt and hair. So now I am ready to start gluing our pieces to the cake with buttercream. Okay, so my cake has been chilling, so the buttercream is firm. I've added some buttercream to the back of the face. And I like to work with chilled buttercream because I can slide around the little pieces if I need to, and it shouldn't mess up our frosting. Okay, so I might need to slide her up slightly, but I think this should be good. Okay, and we'll put our little swing on. Okay, and let's put on her little legs. You could also use piping gel if you'd rather. It's kind of hard to see her feet. Okay, let's do it up a little bit. I'm gonna pull her legs up a little like she's sitting. And the arms. So I'm just keeping in mind that the little crease in her hand is where the rope will go, and I wanna make sure there's the swing is long enough that I can run a straight line from the swing through her little hand. Okay, I'm using a tip 4 to just pipe a little sleeve. I'm just gonna do a little ball for each side. You can make her dress sleeveless if it works out, but my arms, I felt like were a little, not quite what I wanted, where it meets up with the dress. So I think the sleeves kind of clean things up. Okay, so I'm also going to give her a little skirt, or the skirt part of the dress, using a very small petal tip. So just with the small end of the tip down, I'm just going to do just 2 rows of little ruffles, just to cuten things up a little bit. Okay, so next we're going to add some hair. And with that, I'm using a very small Wilton 1 tip, just because I like the look when I'm piping hair, to just keep it really fine. I think we'll give her some little ponytails on each side. So first I'm just gonna do kind of a little swoop down right there. I'll go ahead and do this side too. And then I'm just gonna fill in with lots of little strands. And you could just do continuous pressure back and forth if you want. Or if you want a little more control, you can just do one at a time. I thought about doing fondant hair, and that still might be an option, but I was a little worried about making my girl too heavy since this is a buttercream cake. I just think it might be a little more secure to have buttercream, and that way the buttercream is really connecting to the buttercream frosting of the cake. Okay. And then I'm gonna let her hair start to sort of get a little wider here. To kind of represent that she's got her hair in ponytails. And I think maybe I'll do a little strand by strand, just to build it out. I want it at least as thick as her face, so it looks nice and full. Okay, and the same thing for the other side. So actually right now I'm just kind of building out a triangle, and once it's the thickness that you like, you can go in and add more detailed strands. Okay, so for the bows, I'm just gonna do little dots of buttercream on each side. And I'll just use this same 4 tip that I use for her sleeves. We'll just make the balls a little smaller this time. Oops, I'll tap that down, that little point, in a second. Okay, so I just used my extruder to extrude our rope for the swing, and I've already done the right side. And now I'm gonna do the left side. So to do this, I'm gonna just brush a little piping gel on her hand, and I think my cake is sweating enough right now because it's raining outside. It's a little, and I just took it out of the refrigerator. So let's put a little more piping gel on the swing. Anyway, I have my extruded rope right here, and this is fondant with a little tie loose kneaded into it, and it's tinted with Americolor Ivory. Okay, we'll just curve it. I've still got it a little too long. I want to cut it so that it can slightly curve around the branch. That's not supposed to happen. Okay. So I'm just gonna kind of tap this around the top of the branch. And I think I'll make another one too. another little piece of our rope. Just a small little piece. I'm going to curve like this, and we'll just put it right next to it. Okay, I need to trim some on the bottom also so it really meets up just with the top edge of the swing. Okay, so I think this looks really cute, and it's actually a little bit stiff, and so it's standing a little bit away from the cake, which I think just gives it a little bit of dimension. Okay, so now I'm in the process of piping grass around the cake as our border, and I'm just doing that with a grass tip, a tip 233, and just pull the grass as tall as you'd like, and we're gonna make our way all the way around, and we'll meet back in just a few minutes. Okay, so now I am beginning to pipe some flowers along the bottom, and I'm just gonna do little groupings here and there. I'm using my Wilton tip 2, and she's just gonna be in a little flower patch. So I'm using some yellow buttercream. All of my piping tips are small round tips for this. And so for some, I'm gonna just do simple spirals. You could just do little dots or daisies. And then I'm just gonna pipe pink, blue, and yellow, and white. I think I'll just do a dot for that one. So I'm just keeping it extremely simple, but I think it helps to have a little color, and it's just really kind of a sweet detail, I think, to have these simple little flowers. So I'm gonna top off all of these little stems, and of course you can go back in and pipe little leaves with the small round tip, just little teardrop shapes. So anyway, I'm gonna fill things out with flowers, and you can also add little dots of color within the grass if you'd like to do that for even more color. And so we'll meet back in just a few minutes. Okay, so our cake is finished. I think it came out really sweet. I love the little girl on a swing. It would be perfect for a young birthday, and also for baby showers, especially if you swapped out the girl for maybe a cute little fondant teddy bear. So I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.